Good morning, this is Jyoti Mukul, and we have with us MD of Delhi Metro Rail Corporation, Mr. Mangu Singh, and he'll be talking us about the recovery in the metro traffic and how the current challenge of an adverse arbitration award, the Metro Corporation plans to deal with it and whether it is looking for any government support for that. We would like to welcome you to the BS Morning Show. To start with, I would want you to give us some idea about the traffic volumes on the system. Have they reached the pre-COVID level? And what is the kind of pickup you're seeing, say, on a weekly or a monthly basis?
Today, as you are all aware, after the lockdown was lifted in stages, today we are running all 100% trains with full capacity as far as the number of trains are concerned, the frequency is concerned. But because of the restriction on number of passengers inside the train, we are still not carrying the same number of passengers as we used to carry prior to the pandemic. Currently, the restrictions are that no standing passengers are allowed, only sitting is allowed. And therefore, with that sort of restriction, today we are carrying around, on an average, around 25, 26 lakhs per day, as against around 60, 65 pre-COVID scenario. So that is as far as the number of passengers are concerned.
With more and more people going to offices, has the situation improved? And I guess the diesel and petrol prices are also quite high. So do you see that there has been an improvement in the number of people taking? Of course, there's a restriction still, and you have to manage social distancing as well. But as far as the consumer or the customer behavior, commuter behavior is concerned, do you see any perceptible change in their fare factor?
As I mentioned, currently the scenario is that there are more number of passengers requiring use of metro.
So when you say that change in number you will have, are you trying to say it's just because of the restriction on the number of travelers that the number is still down, and in the common perception, the fear factor of COVID has gone away, maybe due to vaccination or something?
The people have to come out from their home. They have to go for their job. They have to do the work. They have to earn the bread and butter. And therefore, they are out. You see outside, there is no difference in you see the market, the road, everywhere, the people are there. So the same thing will be true with the DMRC also, finally. So today, number of passengers are less. This is mainly because of the restrictions.
So what are the numbers looking like, sir? On a daily basis, how many trips are being taken, roughly?
We are having same number of trips as we used to have prior to COVID, around 5,000 trips per day. This we did actually deliberately. Even if the number of passengers are less, this we ensured that the maximum number of trains, maximum number of trips are available, so that space available is more, and it is easy to maintain the social distancing now. We have not reduced the number of trains or the number of trips only because the number of passengers are less. Because we have to maintain the social distancing, and protocol has to be ensured.
And sometimes there is a heavy rush at the stations. We keep getting these alerts, and Metro takes measures of disciplining the people as far as social distancing comes. How do you tackle that problem of people lowering their masks?
The mask in general is not an issue. People normally wear mask. By and large, everybody follows that. We sometimes face this problem of crowding, and that is why not a good scenario, but there is no other option but to restrict the people entering the station. Because once the passengers are entered inside the station and number of passengers inside the train are limited, so they will create crowding inside the station. So our philosophy has always been that we restrict at the entry of the station. So this way, we are able to maintain the social distancing norm inside the station and inside the train. But yes, this leads to sometimes crowding outside our station area, or even the staircase or the subway leading to the station. There sometimes the crowding is there. But by and large, people in DMRC, they behave. When they are in the metro system, they behave, and by and large, they follow the social distancing norms. And yes, there are incidences, there are cases where we have to intervene, and we have number of volunteers, number of staff deployed only for this purpose.
As far as your revenue goes, have you been able to return to the same level of revenue overall, say on a monthly basis, monthly collections? Have they come back to the normal level? And in this connection, I would also want to understand from you not just the collections, but also the non-fare box revenue, whether they have returned to the pre-COVID levels, and if not, then by when do you think they would be able to, come back to that level?
We have not back to the normal number of passengers as yet. Today, we are carrying around 27 lakhs on an average day, as against the 60, 65 prior to COVID. So we are still around 35% or so. So we are not back to normal as far as number of passengers is concerned. The same is true with the revenue also. Revenue also is not, we are not back to normal. We are still far short of revenue. The only good thing is that though the number passengers are only 35%, but as far as revenue is concerned, we are almost 50% of what used to be earlier. This is mainly because though the number of passengers today we are carrying is less, but the journey, average journey distance is more now. You can very well appreciate that the short journeys, people are not avoiding metro because the availability of train, the waiting time outside is more. But the long distance journeys are more. And therefore, as far as revenue is concerned, we are almost 50% of what we used to have earlier. On the non-fare box revenue side also, it has hit very badly because all the retails, all the property development inside our stations, they have also hit very badly. It's very easy to insist on same terms condition as used to be earlier. But then the scenario will come that these people will leave, and we will have no option but to have a situation where there is no revenue at all. So we have been very reasonable with them. We have adjusted the rental during this period. We have given some rebate on the rental during this period through a proper mechanism, transparent mechanism.
So last year you had asked for some relief from the government, in the sense you wanted that the loan which you are paying back to the Japanese line of credit should be, there should be some moratorium on that. Have you heard from the government on that?
The current problem of shortfall in the revenue, we had worked out last year. And last year, we projected a loss of around 2,100 crore. But when we finally closed in the March this year, we have been able to improve upon some revenue and also improve upon on the expenditure part of it. So we are short by about 1,700 crore last year. These are the audited figure, 1,700 crore. Similarly, the situation is not yet normal in the current financial year also. So this year we have anticipated around 1,500 crore. So this around 3,200 crore, this has to come from our stakeholders, the equity holders, the two government. In fact, not two government, but the four government of Haryana and government of UP also, because the network is spread over NCR area. And the sanction order, a cabinet decision on all sanction of these projects, cabinet order very clearly stipulates that if there is a financial loss, if there is a loss during operation, how this will be shared. In case of phase 1, phase 2 line, it was mentioned that it will be shared equally by the two governments, central government and the state. While in phase 3, the policy of the central government is that the loss to be 100% borne by the state government. So based on that, on the pro rata basis, we have worked out the pro rata share to be borne by the central government, by the government of Delhi, government of UP, and government of Haryana. And that we took to the last board meeting, and board then cleared. And based on that, we have now written to all the 4 governments to make good that loss.
The arbitration award of 7,000 crore plus, which is, I think, increasing every day because the interest is mounting. So how have you discussed this issue with your joint venture partners, and what is the overall sense that you're getting with Delhi Metro be able to overcome this burden at a time when it was not really in best of business circumstances?
Well, right now the situation is that we have filed a review petition in the Supreme Court. And since the matter is sub judice, I will not make any comment on that. Till such time.
Now you had taken over the airport express line, which was a privately run metro system, and then you have this situation of a case on you. Now you're also running the Gurgaon Metro, which was with ILFS joint venture, and of course it's not same as the. I understand the contract arrangement is different in case of Gurgaon Metro, but as a government-owned entity, what is your view at this stage about these 2 lines? Have they been a burden on you, or have they added to your business, in any way? And this tricky issue of, who funds the debt which is there on the airport line, and who, when you running, of course, it's in Gurgaon, the contract is slightly different, but at the end of it, it is a public sector company which has been left handling these 2 private things.
As far as airport line is concerned, and as far as running of airport line is concerned, this line is not in loss. We have not taken over today. We have taken over in 2013 itself. We have taken over. So from 2013 we are running the line, and the line we ran in operational profit till the pandemic. So before pandemic, the line was running in operational profit. So there was no issue as far as running of the line is concerned. And we are very confident that after the pandemic is over, the running will not be an issue. But what will happen to a private player? He will not be sure what will be the fare after 2 years, 3 years, and 4 years. And here we are talking concession period of 30 years or 40 years. So for a private player to take that risk is a big risk. Even if you allow the fare revision in your agreement, but you see in real term, in practical term, how much objection you will have from the public, how much objection you will have from the various other organizations, NGOs, green organizations, and the likely PILs and things like that. Even a private player, even if you have a provision in your contract, he will not have free hand as far as you will agree with me, he will not have free hand in fixing the fare. So if that be the case, then how he will take a decision, how he will take the risk of investing. And this is exactly the reason why the PPP and the public transport system like Metro has not been very successful. That is one. As far as finance is concerned, the finance to a private player is always costlier, much costlier as compared to the government funding. And these 2 major factors, we believe, are not very conducive for a private player to invest in metros in our country.
What kind of lessons you would say if we forget about the financing, or even if we forget about the tariff? Because even in the case of private sector, we have seen that they did have some kind, in Bombay we have seen they did have some kind of an discussion over the tariff systems in Bombay when it had to be raised. But eventually, the Bombay Metro is running for some years now. But now, if you have to run a system efficiently, it has to also compete with the other mode of transport. So, what kind of lessons do you think should be put in place when DMRC will start competing with the National Rail Transit System, which is coming up in the NCR region? It's also a rail-based system. It is also a rapid system. Similarly, there are these kind of systems which are already there in Bombay. Of course, the metro does not compete so much with Bombay Suburban, but you never know, in future such projects are again planned for cities. So do you think there should be an integrated way of planning these systems so that each of them are not competing? Because tariff you can raise, but tariff, if you raise too high and the other system is cheaper, the bus system is cheaper, people will quickly move on to a cheaper option.
There has to be integrated planning and integrated way of working our transport system. And in fact, there cannot be any competition. The metro and buses, they are not competitor to each other. They have to complement each other. These are to be run in such a way that it gives the maximum benefit to the public. It should be done in a most integrated manner where all other modes of transport, they supplement each other rather than competing.
How do you see the recovery in the transport system? You mentioned about the more environment friendly, and you don't believe that people will shun the metro systems altogether, because at some point they have to come out. At some point they have to look at their pockets whether they can afford a private vehicle or not. But in general, if you look at the macro level, countries are talking about a greener, a sustainable recovery model. In that piece, where do you see the urban transport system going? Do you think the governments should still keep investing in metro systems, and in conjunction with the shuttle bus services that run on electric systems? So how sustainability can be built into a more safe travel for an ordinary commuter?
The level of facilities which we have created till now is much less than the demand. Whatever we have created is much less than what is the demand. Even in Delhi, we see now, we should not have that fear that post-COVID the travel demand will be reduced. I believe that even if the demand is reduced, even the reduced demand will be much more than the capacity which we are providing. And that is true for all big major cities. So we should not bother much about that. And I am more than confident that way we see today, the large number of people coming to our metro station, we are not able to take them inside the station. That proves that the post-COVID, we will have the same level of traffic as we had earlier. And in fact, this will grow again the same way as it was growing earlier.
Thank you, Mr. Singh, for joining Business Standard.
If you like this video, share it and subscribe to Business Standard. For more news, views and insights, log on to www.business-standard.com. Do also follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram and LinkedIn.